Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Learn Amigurumi with me, Anniegurumi. Today we're going to make this onigiri. If you're not familiar with onigiri it is a Japanese rice ball that is shaped into a triangle and usually it's wrapped with nori. This is nori, which is seaweed, and this is often a snack or a lunchbox that we normally pack for our kids or even for ourselves. And this is something that I make pretty often for my son and for myself. We eat it for breakfast sometimes, and sometimes I will make it as a after-school snack. And this one is just a plain one, but usually I put filling either inside or I mix all the rice together. But yeah, we're going to make this, and since the last episode was the tree, and I thought it would be really fun to kind of play with the panels on a regular yarn, and it's very similar to the tree. It starts off just a little bit different, but I think you'll enjoy it. So these are the things that you'll need. You will need black and white yarn. I am using Yarn Art Jean Plus, which I think has amazing stitch definition and it's quite thick. And as I said before, it just works up really quickly. And if you're new to amigurumi, this is a great yarn to start with. You will also need a hook, a 4mm hook, as well as a, let's see here, yeah, you will definitely need a stitch marker, not to mark the beginning of the rows, but more so that we know where the increase rounds are in case you put your work down and you're not really sure where you're starting. You do need a pair of 9mm eyes with their backings, as well as sharp scissors and my standard tapestry needles. So you'll want a regular tapestry needle as well as a thin one that you use for just hemming up your clothes and things like that. And yeah, so why don't we get started? Okay friends, all you need is your white yarn and your stitch marker as well as your hook. So what we're going to do, we're going to make a slip knot, and that's just the same way we've always been doing it. So let me do it again. It slipped off my finger. You're going to take the bottom loop over the top one and then take that loop over your finger, give it a little bit of a pull, stick your hook inside, and then gently tighten it up just a little bit. And then from here, we're just going to chain 2. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to work into the back bump of the stitch. Now this is something a little bit different. I wanted to add on to each episode so that you learn something new. So normally we would just go through the stitch here, through the back loop or through both loops, but this time I'm asking you to turn it around and you will see that little bump right there. You're going to go through that and you're going to single crochet into that back bump. So go ahead and add your single crochet, and then we're going to do another single crochet into that same back bump, and so you remember that is an increase. So now we're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn our work just like that. Now what we're going to do is we have 2 stitches right there. In both stitches we will increase. Oops, we don't need that stitch marker. Go ahead and increase in both stitches. And in this one, you're going to go through the same, the same loops that you always do, just the normal, both loops. So now chain 1 and turn. Now this is where we're going to begin our sequence. So for row 1, you're going to increase in the first stitch as well as the last stitch. So we're going to increase that first stitch. Oh, you know what I'm going to do actually, instead of putting it there? You see this little horizontal bump here? I'm going to stick my stitch marker there so that I know this is my increase row. So go ahead and increase the first stitch, and you're going to single crochet all the way to the last stitch. So the last stitch you will increase. So remember this sequence. One row you're going to increase in the first and last stitches with single crochets in between, okay? Now you're going to chain 1 and turn. Now this is the second row of our pattern here. So second row, you're just going to single crochet in every stitch across, and that includes where you chained one, because that chain one does not count as a stitch. So we're just going to go all the way to the end, just like that, and chain one and turn. So now we're back on our increase row. So we're just going to repeat those 2 rows, increase row, single crochet row. So, and you have this indicator right here telling you that this is the beginning of that, right? So later you can count how many increases you have done. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to repeat it 8 times in total. So that was my first one. So let's do it together, okay? So let's increase. See, this is over here, so I know it's an increase row. Single crochet across. And in the last stitch, you're going to go ahead and increase. Chain 1, turn. Single crochet. There's no stitch marker here, so just single crochet across in every single stitch. So these are worked in rows again, and I just thought it would be nice to try something different. We did rounds before, and then with the Christmas tree we did flat panels. So why not try a flat panel with just regular yarn? So it's chain 1 and turn. Now go ahead and repeat this. I've done 2 so far. It's really easy to tell because you can see these little bars. That's the first one. That's the first repeat. The second repeat, right? And now we're starting the third one. So go ahead and repeat that 8 times and then meet me back here. I'll go ahead and time lapse it so that you can follow along. So this is the end of my repeat. So I have ended on the single crochet across row, and this is let's see, I repeated that 8 times, and I just finished. You will not chain 1, so you can also check by counting. Let's see, I have 1 set here, so you can see these horizontal bars here. That means that's the single crochet across. So you count 1 set, 2 set, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So I've done 8 total. Now what you're going to do is you're going to cut the yarn after you give yourself a decent tail. The tail is just for fastening off, so not sewing anything in. So you don't have to make it too long. And you pull out that yarn tail. Now what you're going to do is you're going to make 2 of these. You're going to weave in all of your ends. We're going to make the face afterwards. So I'm going to go ahead and weave in my ends using a normal standard tapestry needle, the same way we've always done it, by weaving it in and out of stitches. So go ahead and do that and meet me back here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make the eyes. So you just take one of your panels and then you get your ami eyes in 9mm and their backs, as well as a bit of your black yarn, the same yarn you're using for the seaweed part. And very carefully, let's put this yarn onto this super small sewing needle. I like using this one because I like to pierce through the middle of the yarn so that it's not so obvious of the V, so it doesn't look like 2 strokes, but instead it looks like you've have a nice smile. So this is something you have to take your time with, unlike me. So now this is where you have to decide where you want your smile to be. For me, I like to put it a little bit in the middle, not so much towards the bottom, because I want that nori to come up to, say, like here, like right under the smile. So go ahead and just embroider a smile wherever you like, right in the center. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe I'll do it here. So I like to, oopsies, try to go in between the stitches for this part. I like to just go over one of the stitches that I already have here so you can see that there. And then I like to pick a point. I'm only doing like 1 stitch wide, right? So, and then I'll come over here. And then this is where this one comes in handy, just like the tips I told you before. I like to go, let's see, is that clear? I think that's pretty clear. I like to take that point right into the middle of the yarn and very, 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 very gently pull that through. And when you do that, guess what happens? It looks like it's one smile, not 2 different lines with a gap in between. So that's a little tip that I can tell you works out really great for me. You need to figure out where you want to put the eyes, and usually I just put it above to the right. Oopsies. Above to the right. Here we go. And then I do the same on the other side. So it's probably, that's too far. See, this is why it's important to give it a try. Hey, let's see. Now, actually, I want it a little bit more space between. It's too close together. So I have it above the eyes with 3 stitches apart. No, is that 3 stitches? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches apart. And then you just stick that smile right in the middle. You can add blusher here if you want. It's really up to you. I think later I will show you a little trick on how you can add blusher to your onigiri. Now you go ahead and weave in your ends or secure that smile in the back however you like. For speed purposes, I'm doing it quite quick. You double check that you like your eyes. If you do, add the backings because, as I said before, it's permanent. So we're going to do that. Excellent. Okay, so now we're making the edging, this panel here. It's going to be one long panel that we're going to go all the way around this. So go ahead and grab your white yarn and your hook, and then we're going to chain 8. So go ahead and make your slip knot like that. And then, we're going to chain 8. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So now I like to make the edging nice and neat. So again, we're going to the back bump, and this will be easier to see because you have more chains here. So you're going to turn it to the back, and you'll see all of these little bumps on the back right here. That's the back bump. Some people call it the third loop, but I call it back bump because it's in the back. So not the one that's coming from the chain from your hook here, but the second one. We're just going to do a single crochet into that back bump, just like that. And then you're going to do it on every single back bump to the end. And so we're just working, that's pretty much it. We're just doing single crochet across until it covers the perimeter of the triangle. So let's see, just like that, and just like that. So you should have 7 single crochets. We're going to chain 1, turn. Now we're just going to repeat this for the entire length. So go ahead and single crochet as you would normally, just underneath your stitch like that, and go all the way across, just like that. Chain 1, turn, and repeat. So you're going to do this, let's see how many rows. I said 54 rows. Yeah, you're going to do this for 54 rows. So you're going to go ahead and do that, repeat it all the way, and meet me back here after 54 rows, okay? Okay, friends, so we've made our panel. So basically what it's doing is it's going to go around it like this. So what I want you to do is not cut your yarn from your panel, okay, because we might need to adjust it, and we're using single crochets to crochet it onto the body. So now what I want you to do, generally just see where your last stitch is, and remember that you want that one to be on top here, okay? So we're going to go all the way around the body like this, and we're going to line up that first stitch that you made in the panel, okay? So we're going to line it up. If you're looking at this, to the right edge, the very corner, the very, very top, okay? So we're going to line that up here, and we're going to use a stitch marker to line it up. Now this is going to be really easy because you can see the chain 1 horizontal bars. So we're just lining it up just to see if we've made the right amount here. So see that last bar over there? We're going to use the stitch marker to tell ourselves that this is the corner when we're sewing this all in. This helps so much, you have no idea. Now we're going to fold that over because this is a triangle, and we make sure that's lined up. And then this one doesn't have the horizontal bars on this because, you know, it's the bottom panel of it. So we just line it up with that stitch that we have here. This, you can also see that there is a chain 1 here, so that's very, very nice to see. And then you go and line up these horizontal bars here too. So you see here, 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 here. Okay, so that is where we're going to start. Now I'm not going to put a stitch marker there because I know that that is the beginning of what we're going to do. So I'm going to put the loop back from the panel back onto my hook. I hope that this is really clear because it's really hard to write these directions out. So let's see, I'm going to align it there and make sure that all these horizontal bars are lined up just like that, okay? Do you see how it's nicely lined up there? So now what we're going to do is going through both panels. So go to the very tippy top of this and ensure that our yarn is on the right side. So you see here, I'm going in here. I'm going to yarn over and draw up that loop and yarn over and pull through. Did that make sense? I hope it did. Basically, we're seaming it up by going through both panels. So we've done the tippy top of it. Now going into this space that we have right here in between the 2 rows, and the same behind it, we're going to single crochet through both panels. Now you see that chain bar over there. I'm just going to go to whatever space I have next to it and behind it. So you just have to make sure that when you're doing the single crochets that you're going through each, you know, in between each row here as well as behind it, and then using these as a guide, these little chain 1 lines, so that you know that it's even. So go ahead and go through each one just like that. So you see, it's very easy to see the space in between because it's just in between the 2 rows that you've done before. So you do your best to make sure you check after each one that these chain spaces, or sorry, these chain 1s are lined up. And then we go all the way to the next stitch marker that we see. And then, so I was going to write this out, but I think this one is actually much easier when you see it in person instead of a written direction. So that's why I decided not to write it out, and I hope that, you know, this helps you, and it definitely is much easier when somebody is explaining something like this to me. So now look, we have done this side, okay? So now we're going to do this corner piece. So go ahead and take out that stitch marker and go into both sides just like that. And sometimes because you want to turn, I just put in another single crochet, and then I put in another single crochet. So that's 3 into the same space so that we can kind of turn, otherwise it'll be all pinched up here. Now we're going to make sure that this is lined up with our stitch marker like that. So go ahead and go through this bottom here. You can see the chain here, so you just do your best to go ahead and go through each stitch with a single crochet all the way to the end, just like that. Okay, so now we are on our last one right here, and then take that stitch marker out, and you want to make sure that this is still looking like it lines up well before you turn. Yep, I have some red yarn that got mixed in with my, it's okay, it's not a big deal. So now we're at the corner, so we have one right here. We want a total of 3 into the same turning corner here. So go ahead and do 2 more single crochets in the corner, and then let me get some more yarn. You're going to go on this edge and line up all the chain bars. You see right here, this one, okay? So go ahead and go all the way to the top. So I'm gonna go through here. I hope this looks clear. So I'm going in between each row while making sure everything is lined up. So I hope this is very, very clear. And this is actually, it works up pretty quick too with this yarn, because this yarn is so thick. It's very, very nice. And then I'm going to go, make sure you go in between each row. And all my yarn is tangled up over here. Excuse me. Need a lot more yarn. Okay, and then I'm going to go into this one. Just carefully use your judgment as to where to place these single crochets. I like that it makes a nice border so that the triangle is very, very clear. Okay, I think, let's see. Now I'm getting to the corner here. Take out that stitch marker. Okay, now we're to the corner. So now what we need to do is line up these guys right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 3 single crochets at the very top of this. And I'm not going through both sides either. It's just the very tippy top, okay? So go ahead and do 1, 2, 3. And what that does, it brings us right back to where we started. Now we're going to close the top panel here. Okay, so this is why I'm doing it without time-lapsing, so that you can see exactly what I'm doing. Line up these panels here. We're going to go into this first stitch on both sides of the panel, and we're going to give it a slip stitch, just like that. Now we're going into the next stitch, just like this. We're going to single crochet across both panels by lining it up, and this is going to bring us around to the other side. So make sure you very carefully go through both panels and underneath both loops of both sides, and then make sure you don't do it too tight, just tight enough. I know that's very, very ambiguous what I said, but if you do it way too tight, what will happen is it will pucker up and it will pinch up and it won't it won't look very nice. So you use your judgment, you can always undo it. Okay, so now we're here. Now what we need to do is we need to, you know what, we can chain one here so that way it's easier. We take the other panel, this one here, and you can also just clip the corners, right? So you can see that the corner is here. And this is just, you don't have to do this, but for me it helps because then I know exactly where everything needs to go. And then this corner will go with this over here. At least I think it does. So it's really good to give it a check like this, like that. And then that's the beginning one, so I don't really need it for that. Let's put our yarn behind like that. We're going to do this side now. So go ahead and line up those chains just like that. And then we're going to go through both sides as we did before. So go ahead and go through both panels. And if it's easier for you to watch first before you try it out, I strongly recommend that, because sometimes as you're doing it, it can get overwhelming. So can you see that I'm going through both sides here? I think you can. It's basically just to close up the onigiri. So I'm going through the panel side and then the back side here, making sure that these horizontal chains are lined up. Make sure you have enough white yarn also. I'm getting dangerously close to the yarn end. So let's see. And then I hope you remember my tip about the corner. You're going to place 3 single crochets so that it can turn easily, okay? So we have, oopsies, excuse me. We have 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, and 3 single crochets. Now we're going to line this edge up, and we're going to do the same all the way across. So let's go into the next stitch just like that and line it up. So this edging you have to be really careful because there is no chain one space along the bottom side of the body, so you just do your best. Take your time. But it should definitely line up perfectly. Just like that. So now we're at the corner. Let's Yes, we are. So let me just adjust it so that the corner is right here. So go ahead and do 3 single crochets into the corner when you want to turn, so it looks nice and neat. Now we're going to do this edging here. Nearly finished. So go ahead and line up those chain ones that you see, the horizontal bars, and do your best to go through both panels, but don't go all the way because we will need to stuff. See, this one is not lined up, which is fine because I can just do it like that. So it's a fairly easy pattern. It just takes a little bit of attention, but it makes for a really adorable amigurumi in my opinion. So let's see. So now, before you go all the way over like that, get your stuffing and go ahead and pull that out just so that you have some room to add your stuffing. You just stuff away. And once you're happy with the amount of stuffing that's in, you just go ahead and close up the rest of it. It's just the same thing all the way to the top corner. So let's go ahead and make sure everything's lined up exactly where we want it to be, and then continue on. And then in that top corner, you don't need to do 3 because we've done it. We're already here, don't need to turn. But I would do maybe 1 slip stitch just to make sure that it's nice and secure into the same space in the corner. You leave a tail so that you can weave in your ends, and go ahead and do that. Just like that. How awesome is that? Isn't that adorable? Okay, I'll show you how to do the nori piece in a little bit. Okay, friends. Now we're going to make the seaweed part. Okay, all we need to do is make a slip knot. You're going to chain 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So just like the panel that we made for the white, we're just going to go behind the stitch into the second back bump. Single crochet in every single back bump. You should have 10 total single crochets. Okay, now we will chain 1, turn, single crochet across. And all you need to do is just repeat that into making it into a panel. So just like the white panel that we did. So actually I'm not going to do it because I already showed you how to do it with this one. So you're going to go ahead and do that and repeat it for a total of 24 rounds, or you can kind of use your onigiri to see where you've placed your smile. But basically, you just want to do it so that it goes evenly on both sides, just like that. And then you'll leave a fairly long tail, unlike what I did here. Fairly long tail, and then we'll weave in all the ends. So I'm just going to show you really quick how I'm going to sew it in. So I guess I will just use, let's see. So depending on where you're putting it, you might need more, you might need less. So you just measure as you go so that you can see. But I've done 24 here. Is this even? Yeah, that looks even. And this is where pins would come in really handy. So you're just going to sew it into place. Excuse me, my throat is kind of going crazy. So you're going to go ahead and take your long tail and sew all of it in. So you'll have to do one panel, one side at a time, because you can't go through both sides. So go ahead and do that. And you already know how to do this because we've done it in previous episodes. So you do that and then meet me back here and I'll show you the finished product. Okay friends, once you've weaved in everything and made it super secure, I'm going to show you a neat little trick. I just have a regular brush as well as some blusher that you normally would use in makeup. You just take a little bit of that, you go into your onigiri and just place the blusher wherever you like, and it just gives it such a sweet and cute look, doesn't it? And if you want to keep that blusher secure on here, you can take some craft glue over top of it and let it dry overnight, and then that way the blusher won't spread. It's so cute. I'm gonna do it on this one too. Yeah, so as you can see, my eyes are placed differently, so you have to kind of adjust it according to what you would like to do. So isn't that just, it's just so adorable. So if you have clear craft glue, that would be ideal. So let me see if I have some. So I have some just normal craft glue that, you know, my son uses for slime. You're going to place some craft glue onto a paintbrush, and then you just go over top of that in a thin layer to keep that blusher there. So I'm going to do the same on the other side. Now of course you could always just, you know, make circles, right? I bet a magic ring of 5 or 6 would be perfect, but I just think it just adds a magical element, and this is something I do in a lot of my dolls. So that's our onigiri. Isn't it just adorable? I think this would be a great gift for anyone in your life, and these would probably make a great market. You know, if you're doing a handmade market, this would be great, I think, especially because a lot of people love onigiri. A big thank you to my sponsors at Hobium Yarn, who sent all of the materials that I needed to bring this free tutorial to you. And thank you so much for watching. By subscribing and liking this video, you are showing your support for free so that I can bring more videos like this to you. Take care. Bye.